It's miraculous. He's probably an alien.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Yeah.
There's only two
Probably a reptilian, isn't it?
American car companies, I think, that haven't gone bust. Ford and Tesla. And Tesla came very close a number of times.
Yeah, it's an amazing accomplishment. So, go Elon as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, he's a remarkable person.
I saw you took a trip to the Tesla factory. What were your thoughts after meeting Elon Musk? Did you get to speak to him much?
I wouldn't say much. We spoke probably for 20 minutes in total, not purely privately because there was other people around, but that just barely gets you to know the surface of someone like Musk, because he's an amazing person and God only knows what's up with him, all things considered. We saw his new truck. He was taking people out for a ride. I didn't go out for a ride. The truck's an amazing piece of engineering. The factory is massive. What do you say about someone who built a functional electric car and then shot it into space on a rocket? He's a singular person. But I thought it went very well. It was a very interesting evening. So I was pleased to be there, and we sort of walked around each other a bit, and it was just fine.
You guys interact a fair bit on Twitter.
We seem to, yeah.
What do you think that is? Why are you converging?
I don't know exactly. We're both well known, and I suppose to some degree that increases the probability of that kind of convergence. But maybe he's aiming up. Me too. He seems to be.
He's aiming up literally. He's aiming up very literally, yeah.
Definitely.
Didn't he wasn't there a spaceman, a model of a spaceman in the driver's seat of the car that he put out into space?
Oh, that's certainly possible. He's got a theatrical twist, there's no doubt about that. And a great sense of humor, because that's really funny to shoot your own car out into space on a rocket. That's a pretty damn good joke.
What is it? What is it why is it that someone like Elon has got himself to the stage where he can say things that almost every other CEO, he's the richest man on the planet.
I don't think he's got himself to that stage. I think he's always done that, and so now he still knows how to do it. I mean, people think, I'll say what I have to say when I get to the point where I'm protected and secure. It's like, first of all, being protected and secure does not give you the courage to say what you have to say. That's a completely, that theory couldn't be more backwards. You think you're going to get braver and braver as you get more and more protected? You think that's how the world works? I mean, I've watched university professors think that at some point they're going to say what they think as they develop their career, but by the time they're protected and secure, they've spent so much time not saying what they think that they aren't even who they were, and they don't know what they think. So, no, he says what he says because he's always done that. And people who are like him are like that. And so Steve Jobs, I presume, was exactly the same way. I mean, I know people who knew him. He always said what he thought, and he was pretty damn cut and dried about it, which is why the Apple products are such miracles of technological mastery. He had an unbelievably canny design eye and was very... he cut whole projects without a second thought, in some sense, when they weren't working.
He did that when he came back to Apple the second time. Refined the entire product line, got rid of a ton of different things, and so we're focusing on this. Yeah.
Right. So that was proof. I mean, maybe it was fluke the first time, which it wasn't, but coming back and doing it again the second time showed pretty clearly it wasn't fluke.
Same with Elon, right? He's refined down what he does to a couple of very, very tight parameters.
Well, he seems to have, although the enterprise he's put together is unbelievably high functioning. I mean, to produce an automobile sub-industry that's actually competitive, and to bring down the cost of space exploration by a factor of 10, and to invent reusable rockets, and to have developed this boring technology. It's miraculous. He's probably an alien.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
There's only two...
Probably a reptilian, isn't it?
American car companies, I think, that haven't gone bust. Ford and Tesla. And Tesla came very close a number of times.
Yeah, it's an amazing accomplishment. So, go Elon as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, he's a remarkable person.
What color skin emoji do you use?
If I used one, it would be black.
Why?
Why not? It's so preposterous, all of that. You know, everything that's happened to Rogan, all this idiocy around race, this insistence that we can be reduced to our race, our ethnicity, our sexual identity. It's so appalling, and it's so destructive. And one of the reasons that I had a lot of reasons for making my political stance in relationship to Canada's compelled speech laws. I had a lot of reasons for making my views about that known. One of them was the fact that my government had introduced a bill that required me to say things a certain way, which was an unparalleled move in the history of Western democracies and something the Americans had made strictly unconstitutional, I believe, in 1942. So that was part of it. Part of it was I knew that this top-down mandated belief that confusion around gender identity was a positive occurrence to provide that freedom, let's say. I knew that for every person that saved, that would doom 1,000 people, primarily girls, to a kind of psychological contagion as confusion about sex and gender identity ramped up. I knew the literature on psychological contagion. It's quite.
What is that? What's psychological
detailed.
contagion?
You could think about them as psychological epidemics. So the last one of any real size was the satanic daycare scares in the 1980s. Well, you're probably not old enough to remember that, but the longest sentences in U.S. criminal justice history were handed out often to women who were accused of late onset female sexual predation of children in daycare centers. The FBI invented a whole new category of perpetrator, a category that didn't exist, because there are no late onset female sexual, child sexual predators. They don't exist. But there were women who obtained prison sentences of several hundred years for hypothetically being involved in these satanic daycare abuse rituals. And there was it just swept across the whole country like the Salem witch trials, except at a much larger scale. There's a book called Satan's Silence that was written by a lawyer and a social worker that documents it. It's just unbelievable. There were stories about underground tunnels where children were being taken down and being, well, every possible thing you could think of was happening to them, all in the name of like satanic ritual. It was a contagion, and those things happen. It happened with cutting behaviors. It happened with eating disorders. This is almost all among girls, because teenage girls are most prone to this. They called it hysteria back in Freud's time, but there's a book by a man named Henry Ellenberger called Discovery of the Unconscious that traces back psychogenic epidemics to about 300 years. And I knew that, people in adolescence, especially people of a certain personality configuration, have some trouble settling into a stable identity. And for a variety of reasons, it can be high negative emotion, which is associated with low self-esteem. Those are more or less the same thing. And then, in all likelihood, high trait openness, which is the creativity dimension. And the high trait openness people, they're the ones that are more likely to have green hair and red hair and lots of piercings and lots of tattoos and dress in a non-standard manner, let's say. That's all associated with creative behavior. And they have trouble catalyzing a single identity. And then if you throw in categorical confusion, which is exactly what you're doing when you declare that there's, an endless number of gender identities, then people who are prone to identity dissociation and to psychogenic contagion, you're going to demolish them.
There is an obsession.
Abigail Schreier has documented that quite nicely in her book, Irreversible Damage. And it's way more girls than boys. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. So you think, well, perhaps a few people who are transgender benefited from this new reality. But for everyone who's benefited, and I'd like to see the data just showing how much they actually benefited. That'll take a long time to accrue. There's 1,000 people who've been just demolished by this.